Alright, so in today's forecast, we'll be looking at a major storm system that is expected to bring a massive winter storm to parts of the country. We'll be looking at a major snowstorm for the northern parts of the country, along with some impactful ice storm that is likely in between that heavy snow and a potential severe weather outbreak once again that would be expected to occur in the southeast on the warm side system. Let's get started by breaking straight into these details in today's video. So we have a day for severe risk area to start. This is effective for Wednesday. We do have a slight risk for severe weather from far eastern portions of Oklahoma, Texas, into northern Louisiana and across Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee. It does look like we could have our tornadoes, damaging winds, our main threats once again with this one, as most of us up in the winter, just like now. It's going to be primarily from a swell line, but there could be some isolated instances of large hail with this setup as well. So that is our weather forecast for portions of the South. We'll also be looking at some other details such as radar and ongoing alerts across country, as well as some more in-depth information about our upcoming major storm. So here are the current hazards across the country. Right now, we have winter storm watches in effect for a good amount of the northern and western portions of the country, including much of the Rockies down here in the west, and then also spreading across northern plains, such as Montana, Wyoming, into South Dakota, Nebraska, and Minnesota, and western Wisconsin this time, with winter advisories for upcoming system before a main major storm comes through, along the border in northern plains and the upper Midwest. Then winter storm warnings are in effect for the higher elevations of the Rockies, as well as some high wind warnings in portions of the West, as well as areas along the front ranges of the Colorado and Wyoming areas, as well as areas in Oregon. Other than that, that's all we have for our alerts as of right now. So let's get started with our main storm forecast. So we're going to be looking at radar for the next several days here. It does look like there won't be much until our ongoing system, or major system I should say, will start to develop. We'll start to see this Wednesday and then really come on Thursday, really during the morning mainly. But we could see some of this in the afternoon as well. But of course, we're going to stick with what we got here. So it does look like a clipper will travel through the upper Midwest, giving some of these areas a couple inches to a few inches of snow in the upper Midwest and the northern plains. As then our system begins to develop, we'll start to see some snow in the northern plains and really come across the northern tier of the United States with that snow area. And then we'll start to see a system develop with some rain in the south during Wednesday during the morning, and then it'll evolve into a severe weather threat for much of the country in the southeast area. And we'll see that severe weather threat really come to fruition during the afternoon and evening hours on Wednesday. And then we have our heavy band of snow traveling through the northern United States midweek. And then along with that, we could see an ice storm develop to the south of that main heavy snow band, and warm vective rain, and even some thunderstorms to the south of that. Now, it does look like this will all be moving out during the afternoon hours of Thursday for the northeast. And then another clipper could try to come through another system across the upper Great Lakes and the Midwest after that storm system to Thursday afternoon, and then kind of calms down after that, at least for now. They're trying to show another system with widespread rain across the Ohio Valley and some snow in the northeast. We'll get to more of this in the next video. So we're going to be focusing on other aspects. So we're going to be going ahead and looking at our precipitation totals for snowfall and ice and everything. Now, in terms of snowfall amounts from various models here, it does look like GFS is producing a wide swath of heavy snow, starting in the western mountains, and then it'll come all the way across the northern tier of the United States, bringing anywhere from the Dakotas and northern Nebraska into Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then across New England, at least 6 inches of snow, and some places could get over a foot, especially in South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, according to GFS, and then also areas such as the Northeast here, which could also get in some of the heavy amounts. But if we do look ahead into other models, such as the National Weather Service blend, it is actually showing a widespread area of a foot of snow from east South Dakota into Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and Michigan, as those are a little area that we could see over a foot of snow as well in the New England mountains. And then the UK model is showing that same widespread band of a foot of snow that would be coming from again, southern Minnesota into Wisconsin, and then across central Michigan. Again, same thing here. Northeast could get an overfoot of snow in some places with that heavy amount. Otherwise, a wide swath of 6+ inches will be seen across much of the northern tier with this midweek storm. Now let me go ahead looking at the Canadian model, and we can see here that it is showing that swath of snow a little farther north, but really impacting the Dakotas, southern Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then again in the New England mountains. Other than that, we see that storm track generally producing that heavy swath of snow in the northern plains into the Midwest and also the upper Midwest Great Lakes regions. So now we're looking at some of that ice accumulations that could occur from this. Now, when we're looking at ice holes here, the forecast can change just like every other aspect of the storm and the storm itself with every forecast here. But for now, it does look like the GFS is showing a band of ice that starts in Iowa and then heading in across northern Illinois, extreme northern portions of Indiana, Ohio, and then across southern Michigan and into the New York, Pennsylvania area of the New York Northeast region. And then what the UK is showing is a little farther, and actually no, it's the National Weather Service blend, showing a little farther north, including areas like northern Iowa, North Illinois, Wisconsin border area, central Michigan, as well as portions of the Northeast region. Again, this is a really lighter model compared to what other models are showing. This is showing up to quarter inch in central Michigan, while lighter amounts of between that. So between a tenth and quarter of inch could fall across the Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin border area, as well as the Northeast region. While some places over there could get nearly a quarter inch according to this model. GFS is going bonkers on this as well, really showing nearly an inch of ice in some places, such as far northern Illinois, but over an inch could be possible in far southern Canada near the Lake Erie shore and southern Michigan, also some of the surrounding regions, but really taking it easy on places like the Northeast, including New York State, Pennsylvania, closer to a quarter to half of an inch in some places, but this is still some really concerning amounts of ice, given the minimum for an ice storm is just 4 inch of ice, and still brings lots of impacts. Now, the Canadian model is really feels a little narrow on this band here, really showing some of that destructive ice, unfortunately, over half an inch to an inch, that be coming from northeast portions of Iowa into southern Wisconsin, central lower Michigan, and southern Canada could also get in on some of that heavy ice according to this model here. Much lighter amounts, though, in the northeast. Some areas could get over a quarter inch, but in that generally a tenth to a quarter inch in places that do see ice according to this model here. Now with another storm, it is trying to show a swath of a glaze of ice up to 10, maybe even a little over that, of ice that would be coming from Oklahoma into Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and even portions of Indiana, Ohio. But then we look at the Euro here. It is showing that same thing here, a little ice in northeast Kansas, northern Missouri, probably with another storm system after this main one comes through. But it would be showing some heavy ice, especially across southern lower Michigan, and then some that are deadly ice could be seen up to half of an inch of ice. That would be coming from the northeast. And then same thing here for Iowa and the Illinois-Wisconsin border. And yeah, that's that with the ice. So now we can get to some of the other things about the storm and also really just look at the alerts as of right now. But another big thing that could be happening within the storm is a big temperature gradient across the middle of the country that could lead to record warmth and a heat wave possible across the southern half of the United States, with many areas even up to the Ohio Valley, even places like Kansas, getting into the 70s, while areas close to the Gulf Coast could be getting well into the 80s. And then, of course, across the northern plains, we could be seeing the complete opposite as frigid air begins to spread into northern plains, with sub-zero temperatures possible during the day on Wednesday. And then as we head into Thursday, this area of warmth would then move into areas like Ohio, Pennsylvania, as far as the northern extent of where you could see some 70-degree temps could be. And then many areas along the mid-Atlantic and again really anywhere across the East Coast up to mid-Atlantic could be seeing temps well in the 70s as well. And then again 80s across Florida and other areas across Southeast and portions of southern Texas. Again, this cold air will try to sink into the northern United States and spread through. Again, sub-zero temps would be possible during the day on Thursday in the northern plains. And then during the night, we could see temps still stuck in the 60s across a good amount of the southeast portion of the country, while areas such as the central northern plains could get up to 10 below zero and even colder than that in some places, especially in the higher elevations of Rockies, but even areas just outside of that. Now it does look like we'll see this really frigid air continue to spread across the northern plains, with many areas could be potentially dealing with 20 below with the temps in the northern plains. This cold air will be really begin to spread through, with sub-zero temperatures reaching areas like northern Nebraska, Iowa, and most of Wisconsin. But then we could also see that move through the northeast New England region really late in the week and into early portions of the weekend, as well as this frigid air still stuck in the northern plains through at least Saturday night and Sunday morning, where it will improve during the day on Sunday. Alright, so that is pretty much it for today's forecast. I hope you found this to be very informational and useful for any of your future plans. Again, mainly during the middle to late next week, which is when this storm is set to take shape cross country. Other than that, I hope you have a great day, everyone. If you did find this in forecast useful and want to see more of it, please do consider hitting the subscribe button to help support us and get more of the forecasts out there. Stay safe, everyone. Have a good night.